My name is Ryan, and I never considered myself particularly adventurous. I'm a 21-year-old college student, living in a cramped but cozy apartment with my younger sister, Mia. On the surface, I'm just a normal guy, studious, slightly awkward, and overly careful not to draw attention. But beneath that ordinary exterior lies a secret I've kept carefully hidden. I've always been fascinated by makeup and crossdressing. Not in some flashy, public way, but privately when nobody else is around. The textures, the colors, the transformation. It's intoxicating. There's something liberating about looking into a mirror and seeing a different version of myself, a version that feels free from judgment. Mia, my sister, has always been organized, stylish, and meticulous. Everything I am not. Her bedroom is a shrine to cosmetics, filled with neatly arranged palettes, brushes, lipsticks, and foundations. I've admired her collection from afar, careful never to touch anything. My fascination was curiosity, maybe even obsession, but I never acted on it until that fateful day. It all started on a slow Saturday afternoon. Mia had gone out with friends, leaving the apartment empty. I was supposed to be studying, but my attention kept wandering to her meticulously arranged makeup box. Something about it called to me, an unspoken invitation I found impossible to resist. For weeks, I had fantasized about experimenting, about slipping into the persona I'd kept secret for so long. And now, with the apartment empty, temptation overwhelmed restraint. I hesitated, fingers hovering over the brushes and palettes. A tiny voice in my head screamed caution, but another, louder, more persuasive voice whispered, "Just one try. No one will ever know." I picked up a foundation brush, testing it on the back of my hand. The texture was smooth, silky, and suddenly I was hooked. I experimented carefully, blending, highlighting, exploring the contours of my face in ways I had only imagined. When I finally looked in the mirror, I barely recognized myself. My own features seemed softer, more delicate, and for the first time, I felt a thrill that was equal parts excitement and fear. I didn't stop there. Lipstick, eyeshadow, mascara, each application was a revelation, a new layer of myself I had long denied. By the time Mia's return was imminent, I had completed my first full transformation. I glanced at my reflection. My face was unmistakably feminine, yet still me. A shiver ran through me, a mix of exhilaration and guilt. This was my secret world, and it had just begun. Mia returned home while I was frantically wiping off what I could, panic surging as I realized the consequences if she saw me. "Hey, Ryan. How's studying going?" she called from the hallway, her voice cheerful and oblivious. I swallowed, forcing a casual tone. Good. Just, taking a break." My heart hammered, but she didn't notice the faint traces of blush still lingering on my cheeks, the subtle smudge of lipstick I hadn't completely removed. That night, as I lay in bed, I couldn't stop thinking about the thrill of what I had done. My fascination had crossed a line, and yet, I couldn't deny it. The experience had awakened something in me, a part of myself I had always kept hidden. I felt simultaneously exhilarated and terrified, knowing that my secret was fragile, like glass waiting to shatter. Over the next few days, I found myself returning to Mia's makeup box whenever I had the apartment to myself. Each session was more daring than the last, my skills improving, my confidence growing. I began experimenting with different styles, different looks, exploring who I could be in ways I had never dared. I started noticing how the simple act of applying makeup altered my posture, my expressions, even my confidence. I was no longer just Ryan. I was a version of myself I had never allowed to exist openly. The thrill came with a cost. Every time Mia entered the apartment unexpectedly, my heart skipped. I would hide palettes, brushes, even smudges I couldn't erase quickly enough. Each close call intensified the suspense, turning ordinary moments into tests of stealth and nerve. The more I cross-dressed, the more I wanted to push boundaries, but the fear of discovery lingered, sharp and unrelenting. And then, one evening, Mia dropped a casual remark that would change everything. "Ryan, you should try doing your own makeup sometime, it's fun." She laughed, tossing me a small eyeshadow palette she had been using. My fingers tingled as I took it, and I realized, with both terror and excitement, that I couldn't stop. This wasn't just curiosity anymore. It had become a compulsion, a secret I was drawn to like a magnet. I stared at the palette, then at my reflection in the hallway mirror. The person staring back at me was still me, but also someone new, someone free. I couldn't resist any longer. My sister's makeup box had ruined me, opened a door I could never close. And deep down, I knew this was only the beginning. The following week, the apartment felt both familiar and foreign. I couldn't stop thinking about Mia's makeup, about the thrill of the first experiment, and about the new version of myself I had glimpsed in the mirror. Each time she left for college or errands, my heart raced with anticipation. The makeup box called to me like a siren, and I was powerless to resist. It began innocently at first. A swipe of eyeliner here, a dab of blush there. Each look was subtle, designed to avoid detection. But the more I experimented, the bolder I became. I discovered that my features, once sharp and masculine, could be softened, accentuated, and reshaped with just a few brush strokes. Contouring became a form of artistry, transforming my jawline, cheekbones, and eyebrows into something delicate and expressive. One afternoon, Mia was out running errands, and I found myself meticulously preparing. I even borrowed one of her dresses, a soft, floral number she often wore on weekends. Slipping it over my shoulders felt surreal, and my heart raced at the thought of the hidden thrill. The fabric clung to me in all the right ways, and the mirror reflected a version of me I had only ever dreamed of becoming. I experimented with her lipstick shades, testing bold reds and soft pinks, watching as the colors transformed not just my face, but my confidence. Mascara made my eyes appear larger, more expressive, and the subtle shimmer of eyeshadow added a new dimension to my gaze. I was captivated by the sensation of becoming someone entirely new, yet undeniably me. But with every session came anxiety. Every creak in the apartment, every unexpected noise, sent my pulse racing. I would pause mid-application, brush in hand, heart hammering, imagining Mia walking through the door. I had to hide palettes, conceal brushes, wipe away smudges before anyone saw. The stakes were high, and the suspense intoxicating. Then came the first close call. Mia had returned earlier than expected. I had just finished blending my foundation when I heard the key turn in the lock. Panic gripped me. I grabbed the nearest hoodie and tried to throw it over the dress, but it was too late. My hair had already fallen perfectly into place, my makeup untouched. I ducked behind the living room door, holding my breath as she stepped inside. "Ryan? You home?" her voice called out. I forced a casual tone, fumbling to sound normal.
"Yeah.
Just doing homework." She wandered through the living room, glancing at the open makeup box on the table. My chest tightened.
I
was just, helping you organize?" I blurted out, my voice higher than usual. Mia tilted her head, suspicious, but didn't press further. "Okay, if you say so," she replied, walking past me. I exhaled, relief flooding my body. That close call only fueled the obsession. It was dangerous, exciting, and thrilling all at once. In the following days, I found myself pushing boundaries further. I experimented with wigs, learning how to style them, how to make them sit naturally, how to hide my natural hairline. I discovered that heels changed my posture, the way I walked, and even how I held myself. Each element, clothing, makeup, hair, accessories, became a puzzle piece in crafting a new identity. The thrill of transformation intertwined with a gnawing fear. What if Mia discovered everything? One evening, I found myself dressing in her clothes, applying makeup with meticulous care, and practicing different poses in front of the mirror. The reflection staring back at me was mesmerizing. Soft lips, delicate cheeks, long lashes, and the gentle curve of my figure. It was intoxicating. I could feel the confidence growing inside me, the thrill of inhabiting a persona that was both vulnerable and powerful. Then the suspense escalated. Mia had left her phone behind during an overnight trip, and a notification popped up on her screen, a reminder of a video call scheduled for the next morning. Panic set in. If she logged in and saw me like this, there would be no explanation that made sense. I had to hide everything. I spent the next hour carefully removing traces, putting brushes back in place, and pretending nothing had happened. My hands shook with adrenaline. My heart pounded. The danger only amplified the thrill. I realized, with a mix of fear and exhilaration, that I couldn't stop. Each session became longer, more daring, more immersive. I started to experiment with styles I had never imagined wearing in public, imagining scenarios where I could step outside as this new version of myself, blending reality with fantasy. I even considered wearing heels around the apartment, practicing my posture and walk, testing how far I could push the illusion. But the obsession came with consequences. Sleep became fragmented, my mind constantly preoccupied with the next transformation. I avoided friends and social interactions to hide my growing secret. Each time Mia returned unexpectedly, my stomach twisted with anxiety. Every day became a delicate dance of secrecy, anticipation, and the irresistible pull of self-expression. Then came the moment that changed everything. I was experimenting with a full look, wig, dress, heels, makeup, when I heard a soft laugh from the doorway. My heart stopped. There, standing in the frame, was Mia, arms crossed, a curious smirk on her face. "Well, this explains a lot," she said, her tone teasing but not unkind. "You've been having a lot of fun, haven't you?" I froze, unsure whether to run, hide, or confess. Her eyes sparkled with amusement rather than anger. She stepped closer, examining my transformation. "I have to admit, you actually look pretty amazing." Relief, terror, and excitement washed over me all at once. My secret was out, but not in the way I had feared. Mia's reaction was a mix of curiosity and acceptance, and it challenged everything I thought I knew about secrecy, identity, and desire. That night, I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, heart racing. The thrill, the danger, the obsession, it had taken hold completely. My sister's makeup box had ruined me, unlocking a side of myself I could never ignore. The suspense, the compulsion, the excitement, it was intoxicating, and I knew deep down that my journey was just beginning. The next weekend, I knew I had to take my experimentation to the next level. Mia was visiting a friend out of town, leaving the apartment entirely to me for 2 full days. 2 days of freedom, of indulging in the transformation that had taken over my life. I could feel the pull of the makeup box like a magnet, an irresistible force that had become both my obsession and my secret thrill. I spent hours planning the perfect look, imagining how I could fully embrace the persona I had been building in private. The dress I chose was a soft pastel number Mia had never worn publicly, flowing and delicate, hugging my frame in ways that made me hyper-aware of every curve. I tried different wigs, practicing styles until each one felt natural, until each one seemed like an extension of myself. Applying makeup became almost ritualistic. Foundation, contour, blush, eyeshadow, eyeliner, mascara, lipstick. I treated each brushstroke like a carefully choreographed step in a performance. With every layer, the person staring back in the mirror became more vibrant, more confident, and yet more vulnerable. The thrill surged with each detail, each careful adjustment of lashes and lipstick. I could feel the excitement building in my chest, intertwined with a deep, underlying fear. What if someone caught me like this? Hours passed, and I became completely immersed in the transformation. I practiced walking around the apartment in heels, feeling the sway of the skirt, the posture shift in my shoulders, the unfamiliar yet exhilarating sensation of moving as someone else entirely. I was lost in the fantasy, intoxicated by the reflection that had become both my obsession and my escape. Then came the unexpected knock at the door. My heart jumped into my throat. Who could it be? No one knew I was home alone. Panic surged, and I scrambled to hide the makeup, the wig, and the dress. But in my flustered state, I realized there wasn't time to fully revert to my usual self. I peeked through the peephole. It was Emma, my girlfriend. My mind went blank. She wasn't supposed to be here. The message earlier had said she'd be at work all weekend. But there she was, standing confidently with a mischievous grin, completely oblivious to the chaos about to unfold inside. I opened the door, forcing a calm smile. Hey, didn't expect you so early. Emma's grin widened. Surprise. I thought I'd swing by and see you. Got some time? My pulse raced. I couldn't reveal what I had become, but the longer I hesitated, the more suspicious she would be. Yeah, sure, come in. I managed, my voice trembling slightly. As she stepped inside, I tried to act casual, to mask the heels, the skirt, the subtle traces of makeup I hadn't fully removed. Every step I took felt amplified, every sound echoing in my mind. The suspense was unbearable. Emma's eyes flicked around the room, lingering on the table where the makeup box had been carelessly pushed aside. So, what have you been up to this weekend? She asked, curiosity dancing in her tone. I froze, caught in the trap of my secret obsession. I swallowed hard, trying to sound casual. Just catching up on some stuff. Emma tilted her head, narrowing her eyes playfully. Stuff, huh? Alone in the apartment all weekend. Her gaze lingered, sharp and knowing, and a shiver ran down my spine. The tension in the air was palpable. Before I could respond, she spotted something, a discarded brush, a hint of eyeshadow still smudged on the table. Her eyebrows rose. Ryan, what is this? My heart pounded. The secret I had guarded so fiercely was on the verge of exposure. I tried to backtrack, but it was too late. Emma's curiosity had been piqued, and her presence had turned my private indulgence into a high-stakes game. To my surprise, instead of anger, Emma's expression softened. Wait, are you? I froze, unsure whether to confess or deny. But the thrill, the obsession, the part of me that had been unleashed by Mia's makeup box, refused to stay hidden. I nodded slightly, heart racing, admitting in the smallest way what I had been hiding. Emma's reaction was a mixture of fascination and amusement. Wow. I didn't expect this, she whispered, stepping closer to examine my face. Her fingers hovered near my cheek, as if testing the contours, the blending of makeup, the subtle artistry. The tension escalated when the doorbell rang unexpectedly. My stomach dropped. Who could it be now? Emma raised an eyebrow, a mischievous glint in her eyes. I realized immediately that this was no ordinary visit. It was a test of my ability to maintain the secret, to navigate the thrill and danger simultaneously. I rushed to answer the door, still in partial disguise, only to find Mia standing there. Her suitcase was in hand. Hey, I forgot my charger. Can I come in for a second? Panic surged. 2 people now knew or could know about my secret obsession. My pulse thundered. I had to think fast. Emma looked at me, grinning, clearly enjoying the suspense as much as I did. I forced a casual tone. Sure, come in. Mia stepped inside, her eyes scanning the room. Her gaze flicked briefly to me, then to Emma, and I realized the tension had reached its peak. Every heartbeat was amplified. Every glance could reveal my secret. Then came the unexpected twist. Mia's eyes landed on a wig that had slipped slightly from its stand. She raised an eyebrow. Ryan, what's going on here? I froze, unable to move, unable to speak. The 2 people who mattered most to me, my sister, my girlfriend, were both present, witnessing my double life collide in ways I could never have predicted. Emma stepped closer, placing a reassuring hand on my shoulder. Don't worry, she whispered, a teasing glint in her eyes. It's kind of amazing, actually. Mia tilted her head, curiosity and amusement mixing in her expression. I have to admit, you've really gotten good at this. The suspense reached its peak when a gust of wind from the open window caused the wig to slip further, revealing my real hairline. My heart leapt into my throat. Every eye in the room was on me. The thrill, the fear, the exhilaration, all collided in a single moment. I had 2 choices: retreat, hide and abandon the persona I had embraced, or step fully into this new version of myself and face whatever consequences awaited. The decision was terrifying and exhilarating in equal measure. And in that moment, I realized something profound. The obsession that had begun with Mia's makeup box had transformed me. It had awakened a side of myself that could no longer be ignored, a persona that demanded expression, risk, and daring. As the three of us stood in the apartment, the tension thick, the suspense unbearable, I knew that nothing would ever be the same. My secret, my obsession, my dual life, it had all reached a critical point. The stakes were higher than ever, and the next move would determine everything. The apartment was silent, but the air was thick with tension. Mia had just left, her curiosity apparently satisfied for now, and Emma lingered, her eyes sparkling with amusement and something I couldn't quite identify. Approval? Mischief? Either way, the adrenaline still coursed through my veins like electricity. I sank onto the edge of the sofa, heart racing, hands still trembling slightly from the near disasters of the past hour. The wig had been repositioned, the dress smoothed, and the makeup checked one last time, but the sense of exposure refused to leave me. My sister knew, in part, about my obsession now. Emma knew, fully. And in that mix of revelation and acceptance, I felt both liberated and terrified. Emma leaned back, her grin widening. "You know," she said casually, "this looks amazing on you. Honestly, it's kind of addictive, isn't it?" I swallowed hard, feeling heat rise to my cheeks. She wasn't wrong. The thrill, the transformation, the secret, it had become something I couldn't resist. I had crossed a line from curiosity to obsession, and there was no going back. Then my phone buzzed. A new message flashed across the screen. My pulse spiked as I read it. "I know what you've been up to. Don't think you can hide it forever. S." I froze. Who could it be? My mind raced. Was it Mia, reaching out after leaving the apartment? Or someone else entirely, someone who had been watching, waiting for the perfect moment to reveal themselves? The ambiguity made my chest tighten painfully. Emma noticed my sudden paleness. "What is it?" she asked, curious but calm. I hesitated, unsure whether to show her the message. Every instinct screamed both caution and confession. Finally, I handed her the phone. She read it, and her eyes widened slightly, not in fear, but in that teasing, knowing way she had perfected. "Well," she said slowly, "looks like the suspense isn't over. Someone else knows, or at least suspects. And that just makes things more exciting, don't you think?" Exciting? My heart thundered. The thrill was one thing, but the stakes had escalated to a dangerous level. I had been enjoying my private obsession, but now it had entered the public, unpredictable realm. One wrong move, one glance, and everything could unravel. I tried to think rationally. Should I delete the message, confront the sender, hide again in secrecy? My mind was spinning. But deep down, I knew that whatever decision I made, the path I had chosen, the transformation, the obsession had no turning back. The makeup, the dresses, the persona I had crafted, they had become inseparable from who I was now. Emma leaned closer, her eyes glinting with anticipation. "You know," she murmured, "this is just the beginning. And I can't wait to see what happens next." Her words should have reassured me, but instead, they heightened the tension. The combination of exposure, suspense, and obsession was intoxicating and terrifying. My pulse raced, my mind spun, and my body trembled with a mix of fear and excitement. I glanced at the mirror across the room. The reflection staring back at me was flawless, beautiful, feminine, and utterly mine. But the eyes in that reflection held a question I couldn't answer. Was this truly me? Or had I created something uncontrollable, a side of myself that now demanded attention and risk? The phone buzzed again. Another message. I didn't dare look immediately. The suspense was unbearable. I felt trapped between anticipation and fear, between desire and dread. Finally, I opened it. "Tomorrow. Be ready. You can't hide anymore." My breath caught in my throat. Tomorrow. The unknown, The revelation, the next challenge, it was imminent. I had no choice but to face it, and the suspense gnawed at me from every angle. I looked at Emma, whose grin now held a dangerous, exhilarating edge. "Looks like things are about to get even more interesting," she said, her tone almost a whisper. I nodded, heart hammering. One part of me thrilled at the anticipation, craving the risk, the transformation, the exposure. Another part of me, smarter, cautious, wanted to flee, to hide, to retreat into the safety of secrecy. But deep down, I knew I couldn't stop. The nights stretched long and tense. Every creak of the apartment, every shadow from the streetlights outside, made my pulse quicken. My mind replayed the events of the day, Mia's partial discovery, Emma's playful approval, the unknown messages threatening to expose me. The suspense had reached its peak, and the uncertainty was unbearable. As I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, the thrill of the obsession mingled with the fear of exposure. I had been ruined by Mia's makeup box, by my own compulsion, by the excitement of being caught and not being able to resist. And tomorrow, everything would change.